A leader has to take the risks.
So what's going on, man? Where are you from?
Well, I'm from New York, so I grew up in New York, and then right now I'm actually just kind of bopping around the world. So I'm in Paris right now. I've been here since the beginning of April, and then I head out next Monday.
Okay. And so going into business, I mean, how old were you when you first got into business?
Yeah, I always tell people like I was a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed entrepreneur. I never worked like a true 9 to 5. So I had jobs growing up. I worked in restaurants in high school and in college, but I did a 1 year MBA program, and then 3 weeks before I graduated, I said, let's jump all in. So I started my first company coming right out of college and haven't looked back since.
And what was that first company?
It was a tech platform for college students to connect them to companies. So we built a platform of about 100,000 student organizations from colleges and universities all across the US. And then we would work with companies like B of A, Amazon, Apple that wanted to recruit those students, and they would use our platform to do it.
And so whatever happened, did you sell it, or what'd you do with the company?
Yeah, we sold it in 2019. So I had it for about 5 years. And but I always share it was an acquisition, which is good. That is a win, but it was not some fancy acquisition that had me drinking Mai Tais on a beach like right behind you, at 26, 27 years old.
So you and Mark Zuckerberg are not hanging out right now? Like you didn't, you didn't make billions?
No, not yet. Definitely did not get to Mark Zuckerberg money, but no, I did not make millions off of the exit. It was more of, we want to make sure the business can continue living. Our students can end up in a good place. Our companies can end up in a good place, and it can continue building. And then myself and my co-founder, we can see what's next on our journey.
So tell me about your childhood, man. Like, what was that like? What did your parents do?
My dad was always in radio. So I lived in New York. So he was a radio executive at a lot of like the hot New York stations where anyone who's from New York could probably know of, like the Z100s, Power 105s, Light FMs, those types of radio stations. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom for the majority of my childhood. And for me, I was very blessed. I cared really about just sports, hanging out with my friends, and only doing my homework because, my parents were pretty tough on me to do that. But I had as good of a childhood as anyone could have.
And what sports did you play?
I was in high school, I was baseball, basketball. So I was a baseball, basketball player.
And what position baseball?
By the end of it, I was third base, but basketball, I was a wing. So I was a 2-3.
Okay. Awesome, man. Awesome. So you have kind of like I'm guessing you have a seriously competitive spirit. Would I be accurate if I said that?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely like to win, and I definitely don't like to lose.
Okay. All right. So did that come from sports, would you say, or did it come from one of your parents?
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
I don't know. It's a good question. Like, I'd be curious, even, I'd really be curious about what you think about it. Like, is that a nature or a nurture thing? I don't know if you can force competitiveness into somebody. I feel like you kind of are competitive or you're not. So I definitely would credit my parents for a lot of things, but I don't know if competitiveness you can really instill into somebody. I feel like you either have that inside of you or you don't. What do you think?
I think you're right. I think that, a lot of people that I know are born with it. I think the only thing that I would say to that, though, is some people don't think they're competitive because they've never competed in their life. Like, for example, in my business, we recruit and train thousands of people every year. And so, I'll recruit some couple and they seem so shy and kind of introverted and, not really that motivated to compete on anything. And then because their whole life they never played sports, they never did anything. And then you show them a trophy, or you get them up on stage, or you give them some sort of recognition. Then all of a sudden, shit, man, they like turn into another person. So, I mean, I think that the competitiveness, I think you're right in the sense that we're probably born with that. It was probably always in them, but they never had an opportunity to compete. So like for you or me, we played sports, so we always had an outlet for that competitive nature. But I think that's kind of a tragedy for a lot of people is they don't have, like, even now in business. I mean, I compete in business, you compete in business. We're trying to build successful companies, and that's our way we don't play baseball anymore, but this is our way to compete
Sure.
and to grow and to try to, to try to do better. So make sense?
I think that's super interesting because I mean, at the end of the day, it's like we're all competing with ourselves. And that's kind of how I look at it is like in sports, it's very obvious. And I'm a Knicks fan and we have a big playoff game tonight to finally win our first series in what feels like forever. And it's like, it's very obvious in basketball or most sports, in fighting, whatever. I'm competing against this individual or this team. But when you get out of that, or if you never play sports, sometimes it's tricky. It's like, who is my competition against? And really at the end of the day, so you're competing with yourself and your best version of yourself. Because every single day, every single moment, you have your good shoulder with someone telling you this is what you should be doing to get X results. But then you have the bad angel on the other side saying, hey, don't do this. That doesn't really matter. Don't push yourself. Don't work too hard to get there. So there's always that competition of, do I go this way or do I go that way? And I do agree with you. It's like, what actually lights you up? What makes you want to compete to get your best? So absolutely, I agree with that. I think there's a big piece that you're born with, but the other piece is how do you figure out what in this world can get us excited to push ourselves to get better every day?
So why are you so excited about the tech space? And, of course you have startup and you've had startups and, what was it about that area of the world and business? Why were you so excited about it?
There was nothing in like the tech world that was like, oh, I need to be in tech. That was not for me what was exciting. Like for me, going back to your question about being a kid, the one thing I always wanted was to live like this special life. And it was very unrealistic in a lot of ways. Like as a kid, I want to be a Major League Baseball player. And then once I realized I'm probably not going to get there, it's, hey, I want to be a GM of a sports team. Then it's, I think being an owner of a sports team, that'd be pretty damn cool. I want to own a sports team. It's like, I always had these massive dreams and many would say are very unrealistic. And I am a million miles away from getting there, but I always had these big dreams. And I was in college, I was a sport management major. So I did a couple of internships with sports teams. And then I realized, I was like, damn, to your point earlier, like this doesn't light me up enough in order for me to get to where I want to go. And then I very luckily took an entrepreneurship class my junior year of college. I really didn't know what entrepreneurship even was, but I was like, hey, this is what I want because I want freedom. I want to try to get some level of greatness, and this can be the avenue to get there. So that was kind of how I got interested in entrepreneurship. And then once I started my first company and I found out like you can go through the hurdles that you need to go through as an entrepreneur because it ain't all sunshine and rainbows. Most people do not, almost nobody actually gets to Mark Zuckerberg status. And you certainly almost never get to Mark Zuckerberg status on your first at bat. So for me, it was just this desire of greatness and this desire of freedom that really got me interested in entrepreneurship in the first place.
So right now you're talking to a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, most of the people watching this, they have small businesses. I mean, some have big businesses, real estate agent, financial services people, just, little mom and pop businesses. And I know that you had some challenges and struggles, maybe getting your businesses off the ground. What are some of the things that happened to you that were some challenges looking back, and how did you overcome some of that, some of those challenges?
Yeah, great question. So I always say, I always say that entrepreneurs are the heartbeat of America. And I believe that entrepreneurs are what make this country, because it's really what this country is built off of, is this fight for entrepreneurship. And I feel like entrepreneurs, they're so important, but I feel like we don't give them enough support and really love that they deserve, because as you know, as many people listening, if you're an entrepreneur, the odds are so far stacked against you. Like if you're a small business, you're going up against Walmart. They have an opportunity to get a bunch of products at a hell of a lot lower price, and they can put a million Walmarts all over the place. So the odds are so stacked against us. And oftentimes we're not taught exactly how to turn $1 into $2 and to do it as efficiently as possible. So for me, I mean, I made a million mistakes in my first startup, but the number one thing I always share with entrepreneurs is you got to figure out how you can get to product market fit as quickly as possible. Because if you do not get to product market fit, you are going to constantly feel like you are clogging holes in a leaky bucket. You got to build a product that the market wants, they're willing to buy once, and then they're willing to buy over and over and over again. Because if you get there, you'll have a foundation you could grow from. But if you don't get there, it's going to be a real tough ride.
So what you're basically saying is you got to find a product that that people love right away. I mean, because I mean that's the challenge, right? That's the tricky part. So how do we do that? What are some of the, maybe are there routines that you go through? Are there steps that you go through? Or like, how do you get to that point faster?
Yeah, sell early, sell fast. So sometimes people say, I'm going to build a product for a year or 2 years or 6 months or whatever that time period is, and then I'll start selling. No, you got to sell before you're ready. It doesn't mean you're selling a big dream, selling BS, selling fluff to get people in there, but you got to sell quickly. Why? Because a lot of entrepreneurs, what we do is we'll talk to people about our ideas. And because people are nice, they'll say, that's a great idea. I really like that idea. And they're not doing it for any ill intention, but they're doing it because they want to cheer you on. But what's very different is when you say to them, hey, are you willing to buy this for X amount of dollars? Then that's going to put their money where their mouth is. So one of the things is you got to sell and sell fast, sell early to figure out, will people even buy what you're offering? And then once you do, you want to see, do they buy once, second time, a third time, a fourth time? Because for me, with my tech startup, we did a great job of getting great big customers to buy from us once. But our retention was the reason why I was not a multimillionaire after selling my first company, because we could get big brands, we could get decent, contracts from them, but we really struggled to get them to continue working with us. So that would be my biggest advice on doing it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it reminds me of my business in the early days. I mean, I think one of the best things that I did, and one of the best things that I get my new recruits to do, is to go out there and sell right away. Get on appointments, get in front of some people, show the product, get ideas, get, maybe some feedback. And so what it allowed me to do, number one, is it allowed me to get trained very, very quickly. So I knew what I was doing. So that way, when I was on my own, I was trained, I was confident and confident. And it was also good because it got me in front of clients right away to know if my product was selling or not. So I love that, because I found out right away within my first 30 days. I think I had helped like 20 families or something like that, and done their investments in life insurance and all this stuff. And so I knew that the product was good, and it was a good fit for the market. And I knew that it could sell. And so I was excited about that. And that's really, looking back, I mean, this is over 25 years ago. Looking back, that's probably the number one reason why I stayed, and also why I stayed in business, because I really was a crusader for what I was doing, and I just felt like it was right. I knew it was right. I saw it in action. I saw it right before my eyes that people were buying. People wanted this. People wanted to be a part of this, and that kept me pretty fired up. And so, any other tips that you would have for maybe one of those entrepreneurs that, maybe they're struggling right now. They're kind of like dying on the vine. They're trying to get their business going. They don't know how to use social media. They don't know how to build their brand. They don't know anything about marketing. They don't know. I mean, is there anything that you could throw at them to say, look, a couple things that you need to look out for and think about?
Yeah, you're only as good as your top of the funnel. So every single business is only as good as their top of the funnel. So what do I mean by that? You got to talk to your buyers or your potential buyers as much as possible. I don't care if you're trying to figure out what your product is, or if you have your product, but you need more customers. We got to figure out ways how we can get top of the funnel. And if you're not good at social media, okay, let's figure out another way to get top of the funnel. If you are really good at social media, great. Let's see how we can leverage it to get top of the funnel. But every single business, I don't care who you are, you got to figure out how you can get top of the funnel. For me, with my first startup, we got scrappy. We were a funded startup, but not super well funded. We didn't have a lot of connections in the space. So we had to learn, and how we got our customers was through cold email outreach. And that's how we got good at getting customers, was we did it all through cold email. And now I have a company where that's how we help our startups that we work with to get at bats with their potential customers. And we do it through cold email, but that's what we're really good at. So for anyone listening, figure out how you can get top of the funnel, whether it's through cold email, whether it's through figuring out social media marketing, whether it's through handing out flyers in town, whatever gets you top of the funnel. I don't care, but you got to get the at bats, and you got to do it before you feel like you're ready, because that's the only way you're going to learn how to sell, learn what product the market wants, and get those first customers in the door. Because if we don't get those first customers in the door, we don't have a chance of building a real business, because we need that feedback. We need to be able to iterate. We need to be able to build out our product or service.
I love that you're saying that, because my whole mantra for over 25 years has been, you got to have appointments. I mean, I tell my agents, you got to have at least 10 appointments a week. 10 appointments a week will, generally you'll close maybe 3, 4, 5. If you're really good, maybe 6 or 7 of those. And you will blow away anybody, any competition, you'll blow them all out of the water if you just have 10 appointments a week. And so everything for me throughout all the years when I was in the field, mostly, that's all I would think about. I just wanted to make sure that on Sunday night, I was booked for my entire week. As long as I looked at my calendar on Sunday night and I had it completely filled from, every single day, this is what made me sleep well. And if I didn't, and if it was Sunday night and I didn't have, I knew that I was going to have a not so good week, because it was all about, like you said, and we just call it having booked appointments, but you call it top of the funnel or whatever. But it was just a matter of, if you don't have appointments, you have nobody to sell to. So you could be great at social media. You could be great at doing YouTube videos. You could have your own podcast. You could do all this crap. But if you don't have appointments, you got nothing. You don't have anybody to go see. You don't have anybody to sell to. You have nobody to recruit. So it always starts, at least for me, it was always about the activity. The big activity creates big results. And I think that, and I want you to go into more detail of how you do it through email, but email is just prospecting. That's all it is. It's doing the prospecting for you. So can you kind of dive a little bit deeper into what makes emails so viable, even in this day and age? Because some people think email marketing is not the best way to do it. So talk to me about that.
Absolutely. And really what every appointment represents, like what you're describing. And when you don't have a lot of appointments coming up in the week, it's like you really don't feel like you have hope that week. When you have appointments, when you have meetings, that represents hope. And the worst is when I talk to startups and they're like, I'm not getting any meetings. I'm not talking to any potential customers. They have no hope. They have no hope in every business. I don't care if you've raised money or you haven't, you need to get sales, and you can only get sales if you get those at bats. So for me, it just represents hope. It represents opportunity. So in terms of, yes, you're right, Daniel. Most of the time email doesn't work. Like on average, we get 121 emails a day. We ignore 111 of them. So you got to do it right. So for us, the reason why I like email as an avenue for almost any startup, especially any business to business startup. If you're selling it to corporations, it could be huge for you. But anyone who's B2B, you should be focused on email. And the reason why, because it can be a very inexpensive way to get a lot of meetings, to get a lot of appointments, get a lot of top of the funnel, whatever you want to call it. So a couple of big things you need to do. Number one, you have to get good lists. So if you get bad lists, what happens? Bad emails, you're sending bad emails, doesn't land in the inbox, goes into spam. Now the rest of the emails you send on your domain are going to go into spam. So you have to get a lot of lists of good contacts with accurate emails. That's number one. Number two, you got to write a good email, of course. That first email is very important. So what we do is we are not gimmicky. We are very straight to the point. Here's the purpose of our email. Here's the problem we solve. Here's our solution. Here's our social proof. Here's our call to action. Everything in its own line. Short, sweet, 5-6 sentences, get direct to the point as quickly as possible. So that's very key. But so much of the power is in the follow-ups. If you just send one email, you're only getting about 17% of the appointments that you could be getting. So you got to follow up. We follow up about 8 times a 9-point sequence, and it takes on average about 3.5 emails to get one successful meeting booked. So with cold email, just like in life, so much of the fruit comes from the persistence and doing it professional. Don't follow up and say, hey, why haven't you responded to me yet? What's your problem? No, it's not their job to respond to you. You got to make things short, sweet, to the point. Just say, hey, if you're interested, am I worth 15 minutes of your time, basically? That's it. And if you're not interested, please let me know. I'll stop emailing you. The next big thing, though. Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please continue.
Yeah. So the last big thing that you then have to focus on is what's your infrastructure that you have to handle the responses that you're going to be getting. So what are your templates? How are you booking the meetings using a tool like Calendly? You have to make sure that infrastructure is in place. So you're not inundated with too many responses, and you don't want to have to handle that all on your own. And then the last thing, which really should have been the first thing, is you have to make sure email inbox is set up properly, your domain is set up properly. 80% of inboxes are not set up. I mean, like DKIM, SPF, SMTP server, stuff like that, which is basically the highway to get your emails delivered. So those are the 4 big things that every startup needs to focus on. And it's not as complicated as it might sound.
How important is, I mean, I think that's wonderful, but how important is having a brand when you're trying to build a business? I mean, I notice, like, because I mean, just looking at a lot of people, a lot of salespeople, because obviously we're both always trying to sell something, right? We have companies we're trying to sell, we're trying to get in front of clients, we're trying to, grow it. And how important is having a brand? Because I see people, they have no brand, they have no social proof, they have no background of what they did. And I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like as a consumer, like when I put myself on the consumer side, I'm always very leery if somebody doesn't have a brand, or they don't have a good company that's backing them, or having, some sort of social proof. Is that like a reality in our today's world, do you think?
People are going to do their due diligence. So at the very least, a website, it's not a nice to have, it's a must have. We need something to show, hey, this is not a scammer. So yes, you at least need the bare minimum. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, though, you have to sell before you're ready. So if you're like, hey, I'm just starting off, I don't have a beautiful website, I don't have a ton of social proof, we have to figure out how we can at least package up your brand in a way that's simple, that will show some type of social proof. So ideally, yes, you have a great brand, but when you're just starting off, maybe you don't have that quite yet, but we have to figure out how we can package up your social proof as quickly as possible. So everybody out here has some type of social proof, whether it's your previous history, work that you've done for other people. Like there's some type of social proof we can squeeze out of you. But yes, ideally, you at least have to have a website that doesn't make you look like, you're a scammer in the basement and God knows where.
Yeah, because I look at people, right? I mean, what do we do now in this day and age? We go onto Instagram, right? And we check out their YouTube channel, or we check out their website or whatever. So I think my advice to people out there is to make sure you have some sort of setup, way for us to check you out. I even have shortcuts now, right? I have shortcuts for my Calendly, I have shortcuts for my website, I have shortcuts for my YouTube channel. So I'm always just sending it out. It's like my way of saying, go check me out, go see me. Of course, when they're asking information, tell me more about you, whatever. And I'm able to very quickly and easily share with them my video that talks about my business and things like that. It's very easy for me to do that. So now they know I'm legitimate. Now they know I'm real. And I think a lot of people, they only post pictures of them and their dog and them and their food and things like that. I mean, how big of a mistake is that, would you say?
Yeah, and there's no excuse anymore. Like it's 2023. We can find really quality work for pennies on the dollar. Like there is no excuse for anybody. If you can find $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000, the amount of quality work you can get done, whether it's a website, whether it's help putting together reels for reels on podcasts, for example. Like if you do a webinar, you can use an app called video.app. I think it's VIDYO.app. It's like 30 or 40 bucks a month. It'll chop up your clips. It'll give you these amazing 30 to 40-second reels. Is it like world class, which you could pay someone hundreds of dollars an hour to? No, but is it like pretty darn good? Absolutely. Like there is no excuse anymore in 2023 why you can't have the most basic brand to show your social proof, because it doesn't cost what it used to even 10 years ago. It doesn't mean you have to hire a full-time person to be in the office every day. There is insanely talented people from all around the world that are hungry and looking for work that can put this stuff together for you for pennies on the dollar, or use technology, automation, AI to help you out with this. So absolutely, there's just no excuse for it.
Yeah, that's I just literally, before I got on with you, I spent an hour with I have a Wealth on the Beach coaching program that people sign up for on wealthonthebeach.com. And it's every Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I get on with a bunch of people, and we talk about different subjects. We talk about AI technology, which I talked about this morning. We talk about sales. We talk about marketing. We talk about branding. We talk about anything under the sun. I mean, leadership, you name it, money, budgeting, financial planning, everything. But you just, maybe think about what I was just talking about today. And I was sharing with them that, in the old days, we didn't have enough money to pay for an assistant. We're trying to get your business off the ground. I mean, you don't have a lot of money. Maybe you're just an independent salesperson, whatever. And so maybe you don't have a lot of money to pay somebody $30,000 a year to be your assistant. Well, with AI technology now, you literally can say, hey, write me a caption, add hashtags, add a call to action, and sprinkle emojis throughout the caption, and make the caption long so it's kind of like a length of a blog, so people have stuff to read. And boom, just like that, in 3.7 seconds, you got yourself a beautiful caption that, by the way, celebrities and companies have been paying people to do this for a long time. I mean, this is not new that you pay someone. So everybody thinks that Kim Kardashian sits in her bed every day and she's like, what do I say? And she's writing her captions and she's trying to figure out, she's got a team of people that does that stuff. Now, I think, Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that now we're kind of getting a little bit of a more level playing field. And I think you were also mentioning places like Fiverr. You were, like apps like Fiverr that you can go on there. You could pay somebody pennies on the dollar to do almost anything for you. I'm getting my trademark done right now. I'm having somebody help me through the process of my trademark. I had somebody edit my book, Wealth on the Beach. And I had somebody proofread it for me and edit it for me and all that stuff for pennies on the dollar that I maybe would have in the past had to pay tens of thousands of dollars for somebody to do that for me. So how cool is it that we live in a world today that people like you and me, maybe we don't have the budgets of Mark Zuckerberg or Kardashians or some celebrity, but we do now have the ability through these technologies and these apps and these forums and these platforms to be able to get stuff done for relatively for very inexpensive amount. So what do you think about that? Are we in a new world, man?
Dude, spot on, 100%. Like, the playing field is so much more even today than it has ever been. Like, one of the things I talk about a lot is how the future for entrepreneurs is who can be the best at outsourcing and automation. If you can learn those two skills, you as an entrepreneur, I don't care if you have a small cupcake shop on Main Street, if you're trying to build a tech business, if you're in insurance, whatever it is, the future for entrepreneurs is going to be built on how good are you at automating and outsourcing. It's one of the skills that I struggled so deeply with in my tech startup. Like, I would, and I don't say this with a badge of honor, but it was just my reality. I thought you had to be in the office from before the sun rose to far after the sun set. Like, it was 6 a.m. till 7, 8, 9 p.m. almost every single day. But the reason why is because I was not good at outsourcing and automating and delegating. That's been the skill that allows me to travel all across the world, be on different time zones, and have team members that in American, US standards, you're paying nothing to, but where they are, they're the wealthiest people where they are. They're making great money. They are a joy to work with. They do high quality work. And I've had MIT PhDs that I've worked with, and the people I work with now are some of the most phenomenal workers, such a joy to be around, and do a great job every single day, trustworthy, all that. But you have to learn the skill to automate, to outsource. I teach a class virtually to small business owners once a week, and I've been doing it for a few years now. And that's what I always try to hammer home. you want an X factor that I guarantee you, or a good chance your competition isn't doing. You got to learn things like AI. You got to learn how to outsource. You got to learn how to use tools like Fiverr, like Upwork, things like that. You got to learn how to manage them, how to create instructions, how to use tools like Loom, where you can record instructions. Like, there are so many basic things where if we can learn it today, we have the opportunity to be such strong entrepreneurs, because it ain't going anywhere. It's going to just keep getting better and better and better. And we don't want to fall behind.
Yeah, this really is a game changer. I mean, I think with ChatGPT, it is revolutionizing my life. Even, I mean, everybody was so excited that I was doing, because I kind of promoted it a little bit yesterday, and everybody's really excited about hearing this morning. I even went so far, I taught how to talk to the AI, like specific things that you have to say to prompt it, because it really is the next generation of the world, is understanding how to communicate with this technology, because garbage in, garbage out. Right? If you know how to talk to it, you're going to be more successful at it, getting you the information that you need. But I mean, let's be honest, man. It's wild to be able to just type in anything you want. I mean, I know it sounds funny, but I was sharing it this morning. I mean, I wanted to make a little poem for my daughter, so I just told it to make me a poem. I told it all the wonderful things about my daughter and things I wanted to say. And then all of a sudden, in 3.7 seconds, man, it popped out a beautiful poem. I did the same thing. I mean, she's 17, and I thought it would be cute if I made her a really cool like story, about dragons and about how her dad was the king of the castle and all these different things, and it made up this brilliant story. It was so much fun. So I just think, I wish they were little again, of course, but I mean, when they were 5 years old, I used to tell them stories every night. How cool would it have been for me to make beautiful, awesome, customized stories for my little kids, and then looking at this technology from the standpoint of, asking it to do research. I mean, how much does that cost? I mean, in the real world, right? I pay the pro, so pay like $20 a month or something, which is nothing when you're thinking about the value that it's giving me. It's researching everything for me. It's giving me content for my YouTube channel. It's giving me content for my reels. It's giving me, all types of scripts and marketing ideas and just information that, to me, I mean, I can write okay, but sometimes, it's nice when it gives you the foundation of what you want to say, and then you just expand from that. So tell me some other ways that you might be using ChatGPT and artificial intelligence right now for your business.
Yeah, well, it allows us to play editor versus writer and editor. So that could chop up. It doesn't mean you're going to do nothing. Like, you still are going to do some editing, but if it can save you that first 80% where you're like, oh, I have writer's block, or I really don't want to do this. Oh my God, you no longer have to do that first part. You could just edit it. So some key areas. So one, like I mentioned, this tool called Video, which I recommend everyone check out, and you might want to check it out too. I don't know how you chop up your reels, but I've been on a lot of podcasts as a way to your point, to grow my brand, to get introduced to new audiences, all that stuff. So I've been on, 50, 60 podcasts at this point, and it's a lot of great content out there, but if you don't use it, what's the value of it? So one simple way is, I have one of my team members that uploads all the podcasts I'm on, and he chops them up into bite-sized pieces, whether it's for LinkedIn, for Instagram, for Twitter, for whatever that might be. So that's one way. And I used to hire somebody who I still do have on staff, but who would go through these clips, create a manual clip for it, and it wouldn't take them a ton of time. But we're talking 30 to 60 minutes you do a reel for, and instead I could pay for this app to do 10x what he's doing and to cost a fraction of what I'm paying him. So
and what's the app called? What's the app called again?
It's called I believe it's video.app. So VIDYO.app. It's some form of that. If that's not exactly it, it's close enough.
Something like that. Video. Okay.
Yep.
Very cool. Go ahead.
Yep.
Continue. Sorry.
So that's one. Well, when we write emails for our customers, we'll check out, hey, let's see how ChatGPT writes it. We'll get inspiration. It doesn't mean we use the whole email, but hey, maybe we use a couple words that they used in the subject line and the body of the email. Maybe we'll try a new follow-up. We'll use it for inspiration when we're sending out emails. Another way we do it is hey, maybe we want to put in custom compliments. So if we're reaching out to a list of 1,000 people, let's use ChatGPT to get a little interesting fact on those 1,000 people that we're reaching out to. And it's amazing if you pay for the premier, which is whatever, 20 bucks a month, whatever it is. In minutes, it'll give you a custom fact on all 1,000 people that you're reaching out to that you just simply put into your email. If you need some data to be cleaned up a little bit, so maybe there's all caps or whatever it is, ChatGPT can clean up your data. Like there's an endless amount of ways that you can use automation. There's a really good tool. I think it's called, there's an AI for that. I believe that's what it's called. And what it does is it's basically a directory for anything you want for AI. So if you want to find video editing, if you want to find help with creating Facebook ads for blogs, whatever it is, you literally just type it into the search engine and it'll show you all of the AI tools that help with video editing as an example. I believe there's an AI for that.com. But if it's wrong, it's something along those lines.
Yeah. It's just wild. I mean, we are, like I told everybody this morning, I said, the one thing to remember is cyborgs and robots are not going to take over the universe at this point. Okay, so we're not there yet, so don't be scared of it. I think people legit, and it's dang Elon Musk. I love Elon Musk, man, but he's like scaring people about this stuff. I think there are some scary things about it. I think that AI technology could influence elections, and from a political standpoint, they could damage. I mean, I'm even scared that celebrities, I mean, you could now, from the deep fake, right? You could fake somebody talking. You could mimic their voice and mimic their look and make it actually seem like they said something that they didn't say. I think this is going to be some major future problems with AI. But at this point in our life, I think that we got to stay ahead of the curve. Can't be afraid of it. We got to embrace it and adopt the technology. But what do you think about like the future of AI? I mean, do you think that robots are going to take over the world, or what do you think is going to happen, man?
I think if you're a baseball guy, I'm a baseball guy. Like in baseball, there's 162 games in a Major League Baseball season. I think we just started pitchers and catchers reporting. That's before spring trading. That's before the 162 games. Like we are still in such a baby phase. So who knows where it's going? Who knows if, iRobot, that movie will come true. I have no idea because we are so young in this phase right now. And it's already so powerful. But like to your point right there, it's really important. Like one of the things I always share, again, when I speak to entrepreneurs, including small business owners, like the class that I teach, is you have to at least be 101 level knowledgeable in many key areas as an entrepreneur. Why? Because if you are not, you will get the wool pulled over your eyes. There was a time in my tech startup when we were transitioning from one CTO to a consultant, we had a consultant take over. And it was when I didn't know enough about technology. I was more of a business guy, not a tech guy. And I swear I would have been better off taking $5,000, lighting it on fire, throwing the trash can versus what happened. And the reason why is because I didn't know what questions to ask. I didn't know how to hold him accountable. I didn't know all those key things to make sure that he was doing what I expected him to do. So the reason why I bring that up is with AI, with tech, with automation, every business owner, it's our responsibility to at least be 101 level knowledgeable. And the reason why is even from what you mentioned, like with the deep fake stuff, there's stories out there where, through this AI, you'll get a call like it'll sound like your 17-year-old daughter. And she'll say, daddy, you got to help me. You need to send me, $100,000. And you're like, oh my God, I got to help. This is my daughter. You send the $100,000 and it was just an AI that faked you out of it. And that's like the new scammer thing to do, is the deep faking with the voice. But if you're not aware that technology exists, you're much more likely to be scammed. So we have to be knowledgeable about it because it is just the beginning and it's rapidly advancing. So get on the wave, because if you don't, you're just going to get left behind.
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to you can't believe everything that you hear or see anymore. And this comes to your point earlier that you got to edit stuff. You got to actually read it. I hear college professors and teachers getting so afraid of this technology, saying, oh my God, my kids are just going to get the essays, they're just going to write them. And because the truth is it still has to be edited. You still have to make sure that it sounds right. And I don't know about you, but I'm not afraid of that technology. I'm not afraid of the fact, I know I'm actually embracing this and telling my daughter, use it, understand it, get it to help you, get it to do things for you. And as long as you're learning from it and you're learning the information and because you got to know the information, even to prompt it, you got to understand something about the information that you're putting in. Otherwise, you won't get back good information at all. So even prompting takes work. And this is probably going to be a real major piece of what people are going to have to do in the future. I mean, there's going to be, there already are prompt engineers that's all they do is they know how to prompt this AI and all the different AIs that are coming out. Because ChatGPT, to me, this is just the beginning. Like you said, this is just the bare minimum. And I've always been an early adopter. I've always liked to kind of get in the beginning, understand the stuff. So that way, like you said, the wool does not get pulled over my eyes. I understand the technology. I understand what it can do. I understand what it can't do. I understand that I make it less scary. When you know something, you understand something, you're less afraid of it. I think people for decades have been so afraid of technology and so afraid of what it could do. And they think it's so powerful. But once you understand it, you're like, well, it's just, you got to tell it what to do. And it's just it really is there to make your life easier. Any thoughts?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know how I stumbled on this video, but I saw a video from like 1917, and it was of an 87-year-old farmer, somewhere called the Midwest of the US, right? And he was talking about how scary technology is and how advanced technology is, in 1917 versus it was in, 1850 as an example. And the reason why I bring that up is because forever we have been scared of where technology is going. This is not a new thing. In 2000, we were scared about, the internet and what was happening. In, 1990s, we were scared about what the car phone is going to mean and all that. 80s about the computer. And there's always been a fear about where technology is going. And the way I look at ChatGPT and automation and AI is there's a way to leverage it where you could just be very lazy and to just cut corners and do the bare minimum. Like, hey, I have an essay coming up. I'm just going to pop it in and I'll submit my essay. And maybe the teacher doesn't know, maybe you get a B on the essay and you're like, I won. No, you didn't. You cut the corner. You learned nothing from that. You got nothing from that. But what I think tools like AI can do is they can allow leaders to be better leaders. And what I mean by that is like leaders are not in the beginning. Yes, they have to be the ones in the trenches to learn how to do something properly. But then it's really, how do you position your troops to get the best possible result for themselves and for the organization? And that's where we can leverage things like, how do we become better prompters? How do we allow the time that we are freeing up from not having to build, the first 80% of that poem to then think about what's that next thing I could do for my daughter so that she can, continue to grow into the best version of herself. So I see AI as this should allow us as leaders to not get stuck in the weeds, but allow us to get that work done so we can focus on the big picture and what's really important.
Beautiful. Well said. Well said. Adam, this is really cool, man. I literally could have this conversation. We could do this for at least 3 more hours, I promise you. And I'd love to do that, but we gotta jam. So look, I want people to really know how to get in touch with you. Because the one thing that I do know is, especially in my business, I have 1,500 licensed agents and about 52 locations. And we're always looking to grow our appointments. I mean, this is it. Like I said, that's all I talk about is you need appointments and you need recruits. Recruits come in and help you generate very simple, easy appointments. But once you go through that warm market, you got to start running this thing like a business. I mean, at some point, you got to run it like a company. If you're going to scale it, if you're going to build it. And I think that lead gen is, in my opinion, one of the most important things an entrepreneur has to have. I mean, if you don't have good lead generation, you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs. You got nobody to go see. You got nothing to do. So if you're not blowing it up on social media, or maybe you don't like to be on camera, or you just don't, or you just need help generating more appointments, creating more appointments, it's something that's mandatory, in my opinion. I mean, what you're doing right now, creating appointments, 2,000 appointments a year or something like that. I mean, this is mandatory for people. So tell us how to get a hold of you. Tell us how to connect with you. Tell us how you're going to bring some value to our life to help us generate more appointments, because we know how to close, man. We all can close. We just need that, in the door. We just need that. We can have more of that. Hallelujah. We all get rich.
Absolutely. So if you think you could handle doing the day-to-day to get the appointments booked on your calendar, but you want to know exactly what step A through step Z is, reach out to me. I'll show you exactly what you need to do in order to do this on your own. If you say, hey, Adam, I don't want to deal with all that crap. All I want to do is get on a Zoom call or a phone call with my ideal customer. We can help with that. So our website's eocworks.com. My email is adam@eocworks.com. On social media, I'm just at Adam I. Rosen. So get in touch any way I can help, whether it's to do this for you. We love doing that. We have 24 customers currently and growing, which is, really exciting for us. But there's nothing that gets us more excited than not just getting a meeting for somebody, but more importantly, when we see how that meeting turned into a sale and what that means for every single business. So if we can help in any way, please feel free to reach out, and I'd love to chat, love to connect.
All right. As always, everybody, do me a favor. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening on iTunes, do me a favor and reach out to Adam. Okay. And just whether you do business with them, whether you connect with them, whatever you do with them, just reach out, say, hey, Adam, appreciate your time. Appreciate the value that you just brought to my life for free, by the way. This is on YouTube, so it's free to all of us. And just say thank you. Say thank you for your time. We appreciate you. And maybe ask him a question. He's going to answer all of his DMs. He's going to answer questions from everybody. Just try to connect with him. And by the way, worst case scenario, you learn something. Worst case scenario, you make a new friend. That's what I'm telling everybody. Just always make new friends, build new relationships, because you never know where this one interaction, whether this one meeting, whether this one DM, you never know where it can lead. And this is some of the best relationships that I have in my life today, believe it or not, came from social media, came from just random people that I met. I mean, I got friends in Dubai, I got friends in England, and I got friends all over the United States and Canada, because I've been able to connect with so many people through the years, through social media, through through having the podcast and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. So just reach out, say hello, thank him for his time. And with that said, if you have not checked out Wealth on the Beach, the book, get it. It's on Amazon. Just type in Wealth on the Beach, Daniel Alonzo on Amazon. Check that out. And by the way, a lot of you have been asking me about my coaching program. It's called Wealth on the Beach Club, and we do that every Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Check that out. Go to wealthonthebeach.com. Check that out, and let me know what you think. And by the way, DM me. I answer all my DMs personally. So DM me. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. And last but not least, I got a very, very important, fun thing to talk about. I have my audio book out. So finally, it took me a long, long time, but finally, and by the way, I recorded it in Slovakia. Okay, I lived in Slovakia in January, February of this year, and in Slovakia, I recorded my audiobook. It's freaking awesome. I had a beautiful studio. I had an actual director. I had a sound engineer. It was awesome. We had a blast, but it came out amazing. So audible.com. Link will be in the description, okay? And if you're not on Audible right now, usually they give you a free book to sign up, so you can get my book for free on Audible. So go check that out. Appreciate you. As always, continue to dream bigger than ever. Get after it. You got to get after it. Always get after it. And most importantly, do it now. God bless. We'll see you at the top.